You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing, daily, hopefully. Hello, you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. It's emergency podcast time again, for whatever reason. But I really warmed to my topic in the last emergency podcast, which is talking about TV that I liked. So I'm going to talk today, and I will do more of these because this is such an easy thing for me to talk about because I'm so passionate about certain TV shows. Today I'm going to talk about comedy that I like. So again, there's a large amount of stuff that I like, and there's also a large amount of stuff that people have tried to get me to like. So I'm also going to talk about things that I just don't get, and I'm afraid one of them is going to appear to be rather sacrilegious. I have had friends who have tried to convince me that the sitcom Friends is literally the best thing ever written and that I will absolutely love it. And every time I made abortive attempts to try and watch it, they would say, oh, you just haven't watched far enough. You need to watch season 2. Or when I said at the end of season 2, no, I still don't get it. They would say, oh, well, actually, you need to watch season 3. So eventually, when one of our channels, Channel 4, repeated it all, I watched all of Friends. And I can honestly still say I don't get it. I don't think it's awful. I don't think the performances are bad. I think you've actually got some very, very good actors in there. But I just felt that, I don't know. So, for example, Joey as a character started off this funny guy. By the end, he was so stupid, I'm surprised he didn't get one of his mates to tie his own shoelaces. The character became a caricature. And I think Joey was the worst case on the show, but I do think all of them were guilty of that to a degree. I also didn't understand the whole Ross-Rachel thing because, yes, Rachel was lovely to look at, but she was an appalling human being. And there was this big deal. They got together at the end of season 10, the last episode or whatever it was. But, if there'd been a season 11, she'd have dumped him again and the wedding, love affair, whatever it is, wouldn't have taken place. And he was a dweeb as well, so I don't understand why she was interested in him. The only characters that I really sort of bought the relationship of was Monica and Chandler. And the only time the series consistently made me laugh was when Janice turned up, because they often managed to pull the wool over my eyes and I didn't see it coming until it happened. And you'd hear this, oh my God, and it was genuinely funny, with the exception of when they were house hunting, because I suddenly realised this is an ideal moment for Janet to turn up. And because I anticipated it, it wasn't as funny. But yes, so there you go, 2.5 minutes on why I don't like Friends. The kind of comedy I do like, it doesn't have to be a situation comedy, although a lot of the stuff I really do like is sitcoms. So there's British shows such as Only Fools and Horses. Again, it ran for too long and the last few episodes probably shouldn't have been made, but it's a story about two London brothers who are getting by, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, selling stuff. And it's got really good characters, it's got really good writing, it's got really funny situations. The one where Derek, the older brother, submits Rodney's picture to a child's painting competition. And it's an old picture that Rodney drew when he was a kid. So Derek submits it. And Rodney wins and they get a free foreign holiday, but Rodney has to pretend he's 12 or 14 or something, and it is genuinely funny. They're also the famous ones with the chandelier or Del Boy falling through the bar and stuff. It's very well written. There's some physical comedy in it. It's got some amazing actors, even in the support roles. Like there's a character called Trigger, and he never gets Rodney's name right. He always calls him Dave, and just it's such a simple joke, but every time he calls him Dave, it's absolutely hilarious. So no, I love that show. I think the writing's genius. I love Red Dwarf. I'm really pleased that they're making some more Red Dwarf next year. I think the original run was better, but actually some of the more recent stuff made by Dave, which is the name of the TV channel here for some reason, I think there's some really good stuff in there. I'm a big fan of a show called Drop the Dead Donkey. Drop the Dead Donkey was made in the late 80s and early 90s, I think, and it's set in a newsroom, and it was literally recorded the day before it was transmitted. which meant that the topical jokes were absolutely up to the minute. You know, they could include stuff that happened in yesterday's news on an episode that went out today. Again, great characters, great acting. It had some quite famous people making their acting debuts in it. I'm pretty sure Craig, what's his name, the latest James Bond, was in an episode, and there's a few other cameos of people that ended up becoming really, really famous. So Drop the Dead Donkey is absolutely terrific comedy. There's an American show that's sort of along the same vein, called The Larry Sanders Show, which I think is absolutely terrific. It was, I may be wrong, but I believe it was one of HBO's early successes. And again, it's not set in a newsroom, it's set in the background of a chat show, but it often has actors appearing on the chat show playing themselves. So whilst the character Larry Sanders, the interviewer, is played by an actor, that, you know, there's a couple of episodes where David Duchovny appears as himself, and again it's brilliantly written, the characters are superb, and I absolutely love it. It's one of the best comedy shows out there. I've already talked nearly 6 minutes on this, but then I spent 2.5 minutes whinging about Friends, so that's a bit of a waste. I'm trying to think what other comedy shows I really, really like. There are quite a few, but I think those are my absolute favourites. So Red Dwarf, Only Fools and Horses. There's going to be others screaming out at me. Oh, The Thick of It. I mean, that's a comedy drama. There's no laughter track, but that's set in Westminster. Stars Peter Capaldi as a spin doctor called Malcolm Tucker, one of the most unpleasant but probably most realistic characters you've ever seen on television. I do remember a few memes going around when he was cast as Doctor Who, where they were editing bits of his dialogue from The Thick of It into bits of dialogue into scenes of Doctor Who, and he was calling Davros a massive ball bag twat or something like that. Really, 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 I mean, it takes swearing into a fine art, this show, but it's also totally believable, the way the characters interact with each other and the horrendous way people behave behind the scenes at Westminster. Yeah, I believe it. Anyway, there's probably more comedy I could talk about on a future one of these, but that'll do. So this is another emergency podcast. Hopefully I'll be back tomorrow with a more up-to-date one. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.